It's hacking time.
Hello everybody, my name is Cyberpilot. I am a main support who plays mostly Brigitte now in Overwatch 2. I have 2 accounts of the top 500 this season playing mostly Brig. In Overwatch 1 I was a Mercy main, and so I kind of switched over. I wanted to provide this guide as sort of a counter guide to playing against Doomfist. And I provided this guide because I was playing with a friend who's Barrett on Kirito there on this game. And we weren't getting a whole lot of value on Mercy here, as much as I wanted to really, so it's kind of a guide and a self-VOD review at the same time to help everyone else understand really sort of my thought process and how I go through decisions I'm making on when do I swap Brig and why to play Brig and other things like that, right? So, I get pressured out a lot as Mercy, and you can tell their team comp if you take a look at it in the top right. They're on Doomfist, obviously, because Zebra, rank 1 Doomfist or whatever, you know, or somewhere in the top 3 Doom players in the game. Obviously, QuakeDawn is another one, but Samito and a few others, right? But was very high ranked at the time when we played this game. It was a little earlier in the season, and Roadhog is still broken, so... for some reason, our tank decided to swap to Doomfist as well. Maybe an ego thing, I don't know. Roadhog would be very good into Doom, theoretically, if played correctly. But you can see we're doing the Mercy things, where we essentially just damage boost our Sojourn, right? That's kind of our primary goal in this comp, as with most games that happen with Mercy and Sojourn, especially in the top 500. When you have a goated Sojourn / hitscan player like Xcal, those are the things that you try to look for when you're damage boosting. And then leave Kiriko to heal most of the rest of the team. So you'll notice between the Tracer, the Lucio, and the Doomfist, especially with Kiriko enabling that dive element of their team, we have a very hard time staying alive on Mercy, as well as quite a few other players on our team having trouble staying alive. So after we've died like more than a few times here, I think we've died like 3 or maybe 3 times at this point, for various mispositioning, poor gameplay, but in general just hard to play and hard to get out of these corridors without a support player that can take some space and enable the team to get out there. So like if you can imagine, reasons to play Mercy obviously is to pocket your DPS players, but if your hit scans and your Sojourn can't get enough value to make that worth it, and it's nothing on them, they're great players, but if the enemy team is throttling you so hard that you can't get out of these little choke points here, like this corridor for example, there's no point in playing Mercy because your Sojourn won't ever have time to set up and won't ever have time to shoot at the enemy. So if you don't have the time and you don't have the space, then that's kind of one of the reasons I'm looking to swap here. Plus Brig is still a very good counter against Doomfist, a very good counter against Tracer, and in general a very good counter against dive compositions. So between all 4 of their dive characters, we have a good chance at winning on Brig. You'll notice they push the card around, they already have the respawn point there. So here we go with the Brig VOD review. We did take this top right high ground just to get a little bit of space. Made quite a few mistakes here going against Doomfist, and so we get dropped basically immediately because we fell off the high ground and we just kind of ran into him. Our Tracer follows up and kills the Doom though, so Zebra goes down. So we don't get a whole lot of value there, and that could have been played a lot better. And this was a lot earlier in the season too, so I'm still doing a lot of learning myself as I continue to play in top 500 in these games, especially because they usually don't see Doomfist, right? So I think it's kind of an interesting matchup here because you usually don't see Doomfist a whole lot, and you don't see Brig a whole lot. So in both senses, the Doom might be confused about the Brig, and the Brig might be confused about the Doom, and kind of how to play against each other. So I did see Doom walking up on the left there, so I was kind of waiting for this one. And so I whipped Doom actually here with the whip shot there. I managed to land it. So that messed up his engage, right? So he couldn't slam, he couldn't get overhealth from landing his abilities on anyone. And it also put him out of position, right? So that allowed our Hog to follow up with a nice hook there and get the kill on the Doomfist. So anytime you can disposition or prevent movement from one of those dive tanks or dive characters, that's going to be great value for Brig. So that's a good example of a whip shot usage there. So you notice Doom comes in again here. He uses that, his ult, right? You want to shield off ult or find cover so you can get away from it. We also interrupted his dive there by whipping him again as he initiated his jump. So that prevented his movement and pushed him into the corner. And then we rallied to follow up, and then we kind of just went solo 1v1 onto the Doom the rest of the fight. So our team very easily cleans that up, with Doom being obviously very busy trying to live against Brig. So if anything, we're tying up his resources and preventing him from getting really good dives on any of our characters. Notably our Ashe, right, is one of the least mobile and most susceptible to the dive comp right now. So here, we deny Doom space again by just whipping him out of the high ground. And that also does two things. It gets him off the high ground, but it also forces him to use his punch outward, away from our team, so that he doesn't get hooked and killed by the hog. So that was twofold there. And we're really good just getting resources out of the enemy team whenever we use these abilities, right? This was a bad corner for me to be in. Luckily we get saved by Suzu here. Realistically I should have been on high ground still, and or bashed over to the bus that was there on the top left. Now that we have a lot of pressure and our hog is moving forward, felt very comfortable playing into that, into the cart there and using the cart as cover. As we come into the bottom right there, we whipped the tracer, you noticed that, right? And we also got recall. So anytime you can whip a flanker like Tracer or Genji, and that forces their dash to go out or their deflect to come out, and or recall right for the Tracer, those are all going to be good value points for Brig. And you know, notice we did that with only a whip shot, right? So we've still got a ton of resources and utility left to use for the rest of the team. So we respawn again here, and we're actually in the lead at this point. We have a slight lead on the enemy team now, just after playing Brig for maybe a couple minutes, right? So you can see how much more space we have for our hit scan player, for our Ashe. Has opened that wide up, and then we've also swapped back to Hog, which is another hard Doomfist counter. So, and this was before the Hog nerfs again. So consistently like fighting this Doom and whipping him away when he does his movement abilities is going to get a ton of value. And the same thing applies really to Monkey or Ball. Anytime you can interrupt their movement abilities, they're going to use resources and cooldowns to try to counteract the movement that you put on them. And so that's all going to generate value on Brig. And now that we're in the lead here, you got to look at like which ultimates are coming up and things like that. So you do have to do some ult tracking.
We're going to lose the league soon.
Doom does go on the top right there. Great bash into the pole, right? That was huge. I'm doing the VOD review myself. I'm like, hey, I bashed the pole like 3 times. That's perfect. So I was getting ready to whip the Doom there and bash him out and stuff like that, but he ended up just dying almost immediately to our Ashe. So our Ashe has a lot of space and a lot of room to work with to punish Doom and to punish other players on the team. We pop a rally because we're gonna go in and try to win this fight like really easily. We get a nice little combo on the Kiriko there and delete her pretty quickly. So whenever we rally, say, hey, I'm gonna use rally here. Just a few seconds before you use it, so you know your team can go. Your team knows that you're about to go aggro, and they can follow up with you, right? So those are some things to think about there. I wanted to whip him off the high ground and proc Inspire, but I missed that obviously. This Lucio here gives me a free Inspire proc by climbing up. The Doom got hooked by the Hog, so there was no need for us to do anything really, right? So Hog's getting a ton of value. We're procking Inspire from high ground. Here I decided to drop and try to go for a quick combo on the Tracer, but we didn't quite get it, and they had beat. So that was an ult tracking mistake on my part, because they were able to easily just beat and live. So they win this fight overtime, I think, if I remember right.
Just try again.
But yeah, so we're coming back because we made a mistake of going in a little too early. I realistically should have just stuck on that high ground, continued to pack my teammates, and just proc Inspire from the high ground. Would have been the smart play rather than going down and brawling. There are going to be certain times where you can do that and pull it off really well. That was a little too early, looking back on it, right? So we come back into the fight here. We're coming down about 30 seconds right left on the clock, so we only have like a couple more fights to win. Tracer does get a nice stick on me there, and again I wasn't ult tracking as well as I should have, so they did have pulls. And if I had known that, I could have hard shielded it, or bashed away, like shielded better, and just tried to block it on my shield. So I made a lot of mistakes here in this game on Brig, and quite a few on Mercy earlier on too. So it wasn't really a great game for me, and that's kind of why I wanted to VOD review it. But just the fact that we were able to get some value on Brig against the Doomfist, and just kind of show the decision making that I was going through to make these swaps is kind of the reason why I wanted to show you guys this particular VOD. So hopefully you learned something from it, and yeah, hopefully if you have any questions, like, let me know. We end up getting this. Realistically, looking back on this, I shouldn't have followed up on this Lucio so hard. We do kill the Lucio, but it's way too late, and I could have gotten a lot more value just playing the main fight and maybe keeping Hog alive. So there was a lot on the line here at the end, and chasing that Lucio was not as much value added as I thought it was going to be, because Lucio is going to get back to the fight well before us. Luckily our soldier comes in clutch here, wins the fight pretty handily, and that's it for the VOD. I hope you all enjoyed watching this, and I hope you all learned something. If you did, please go ahead and hit subscribe. If you've played Brig recently and you're not sure how to make heads or tails of the game, I do also offer free VODs for anyone in the Discord community. So I'll offer that link here as well. And I'm streaming every other night on twitch.tv/cyberpilot with a 3, where you can see me throw games like this one live in action in top 500. So I appreciate y'all, and until next time, it's been fun. Thanks.
What do spirits say?